Welcome to Networking with Nathaniel, a conversational podcast where I get to talk to entrepreneurs, business owners, people that are just growing in their lives. So, if that applies to you, if you're somebody who's looking to grow themselves, you've come to the right place. I am Nathaniel Hovsepian, host of Networking with Nathaniel. Go figure. I am a health and wellness coach for dads. I am a real estate investor. More importantly, I am a husband and a father to 3 little humans. But this show is not about me. This show is about the amazing individuals that I referenced at the top of this. The entrepreneurs, the professionals, the people that are growing who come on to share their successes, their struggles, what they're working on, where they've come from, and where they're going, so you can learn from them and you can grow alongside them. If this is your first time here, hang out for a little bit. See if you like the show, hit that like button. And then if you do, subscribe to the channel so you can be notified of all the other content that we have. And every time we go live with Networking with Nathaniel, if you're a returning guest and you're not already subscribed, what the heck are you doing? Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, join us for more. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the show today a mother of 2, almost 6, almost 2, boy, girl in that order, a fur baby mom, a wife, and an entrepreneur, a real estate investor. Her and her husband have been, with their combined experience, almost 20 years real estate investing, but together they've been real estate investing for about 10 years now. She's got a lot of amazing things to talk about today. Welcome to the show, Alyssa Richie.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. I know one of your former colleagues, Whitney, was on a handful of episodes ago. And so I know that I'm in good company here today because she is good company. And I'm sure she wouldn't have surrounded herself. I know she wouldn't have surrounded herself with non-good company. So I appreciate you being here, taking time out of your busy day. As I know, being an entrepreneur, being a wife, being a mother takes a lot.
It totally does. Yeah. No, Whitney's amazing. Loved having her on the team when she was on the team. So yeah, great times.
So tell me, Alyssa, what is keeping you busy right now outside of being a wife and a mother?
Oh yeah. So, well, one, we are, real estate investors. So of course we always have some sort of project going on. We're actually remodeling our master bathroom right now on top of everything else. So, and then we just got done redoing our guest bathroom. So we kind of have some home projects that are always happening. But then my team really is what keeps me, busy outside of, being a wife and a mom. At the base of the Elite Hub is a transaction coordination company, but we also are wholesaling, reverse wholesaling, and doing that for Owners Club members because I'm a member of Owners Club. So lots of things happening and building out an avatar team is kind of what Pace would call it. And so wanting to really be that one-stop shop for investors, whether they're new or seasoned, so that we can provide the resources to them. So
I love that.
yeah.
You mentioned that you're remodeling. You already remodeled,
Mm-hmm.
the bathroom. You're doing the kitchen. Are you doing the remodeling, or is that somebody hired out to do that?
Great question. So luckily, my husband actually comes from, his dad owns his own handyman business. So my husband kind of grew up around it. So we do a lot of it. And I'm going to use we casually because it's mostly my husband, but I did help set the tub in the last one. I'll help set the tub in this one. So there are things that I definitely are my, tasks, if you will. I'm more of the painter with the fine lines and cutting in the trim than my husband. So we kind of tag team it. He obviously carries most of the heavy load for sure though, but I help move a vanity here and there and, move some stuff. So it's, it's a we thing.
Yeah, it's a we thing. If you set a tub, that's a we thing. And now is
Yeah,
you're
for sure. And I'm always like, don't forget to take a video,
Yeah. You got to get in there and do it. You got to take it. Yeah.
I know. Well, then I just mess it up a little bit. I'm like, okay, wait, here's this angle. He's like, what are you doing with that angle? And I'm like, I don't know. We're just doing it.
Yeah. I'm terrible with the camera still. I defer to Brittany on that stuff.
Totally.
Managing that, between the family side of things, the business side of things, and the rehabbing your own house. All right,
Mhm,
rehabbings, but yeah, up.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I'm not gonna lie, probably the last week or so, we also started school because we're in Arizona, so school starts pretty early here.
Mm,
It's kind of been a week of overstimulation, not gonna lie. And any
mm,
parent will understand that, in the seasons of parenthood, right? Of just you have some weeks where you're like, one, what day it is. I mean, this morning, even I was like, happy Monday to someone, and I'm like, wait a second, it's
yeah.
Wednesday, where you're just kind of going, right? You're on autopilot. And so that is not gonna lie, been the last like week and a half where you're just like, cool, what's happening? There's so
Yeah.
much of a mess. It's
It's tough sometimes, especially from an entrepreneur standpoint, because you are kind of always on, right?
totally.
There's always something to do, even on the weekends. And so the
Mhm.
weekends end up blending into the weeks, and then Wednesday turns into a Monday, or
Yeah.
vice versa, depending on your perspective.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit of a challenge for sure.
Mhm.
I find myself I just recently started taking Sundays off for that
Mhm.
purpose, like day of
Yeah,
rest, and
totally.
honoring that day of rest. And it's something that I wish I had done a long time ago.
Mhm. Well, and I
Yeah.
think you hit it, like, perfectly because you are always on, especially, in the parent side, right? Because
Yeah.
just because 'cause you're not maybe working in your business, you're working your like, in a way, your family, right? And so
Yeah.
my weekends totally no work except if there's, like, an owners club thing here or there and I time block that. But other than that, it's like you're jumping into the work of the house and the family and okay, we're prepping for lunches the next week and we're, doing the laundry and everyone has so it's you totally are always on for sure.
Yeah. I don't want to dive too much into the household management, the parenting, and all that, because as I mentioned to you before we started, I'm going to reserve that as much as I
Yeah.
can for the second half of the show. I
Yeah.
am going to go to a quick commercial break, and I have a question for you
If
coming
you're a
back.
busy dad or you know one that is looking to focus on their health and their wellness, the Fit Fatherhood community might be just for you. It's said that when we have our health, it frees us up to have many, many goals, but when we don't, we only focus on the one. So we're focused on keeping our health and wellness as a top priority in Fit Fatherhood. We've built this community of busy dads, all like-minded, looking to grow and flourish and be great examples for our families of what health and wellness looks like. So if that's you, or you know somebody who that might be for, follow the link in the description and come join the Fit Fatherhood Facebook group today. Let's get back to the show.
Okay, so you mentioned Owners Club a couple times now. And I know that there's been two years, yeah, versions of
two
it. I
two
don't know.
years, perfect, yeah, 2
2 years,
seasons,
yeah.
I don't know.
2 seasons, that's where I was gonna go. Yeah, 2 seasons. Is this your first, or are you a original member?
Oh, I'm definitely not an original member. This is the first year for me. I actually didn't go to Squad Up. So for Owners Club, you can only sign up at Squad Up. And so I didn't go to the first Squad Up. I had the,
Okay.
brand new baby. I did think about it for a
Yeah.
split second. I had that FOMO for sure. I was
Yeah.
like, do I get on a plane with her? Like, oh my gosh, like in full postpartum, like sleep deprived, like
Yeah.
deliriousness, right? Where you're just like, yeah, I can do anything, but I need a nap.
Yeah.
Um, and so I didn't do it first year. Um, so first year owners club kind of catching up to what they've already accomplished, right? So drinking out of a fire hose and that. But first year, loving it so far. Definitely seeing growth in ways that I didn't really anticipate, right? Trying not to go into it with expectations, but of course, in your mind, you still have these expectations. And
Mm.
so first year, loving it. I would recommend it for owners. If you own a company, it is kind of that, elevated push to kind of go to the next level.
Have there been any big takeaways from you? If so, like, what could you kind of impart on the people that aren't in Owners Club right now that you're allowed to?
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
I think the biggest thing for me Has really kind of been the definition of my role as an entrepreneur.
Mm,
As a TC, it's more behind the scenes. Operations is behind the scenes, kind of systematized, right? And so I thrive in that. But also, I think in being an owners club, I've really realized owning a company too, I actually am a lot more visionary than I give myself credit for.
mm.
And so really being able to one step into a safe place where you can just kind of be like, okay, actually, like I do thrive with the systems, I do thrive with the structure, but I'm kind of one of those crazy visionaries that just has all these ideas and just wants to like make them happen. And so
Yeah.
I think for me, the biggest thing coming out of it so far has been that realization, probably being in that room with other visionaries of like, Alyssa, you kind of are a crazy visionary. And my husband laughs at that because he's like, no, totally, you have been. Like, you just
Yeah.
didn't see it, right? But so for me, I think just being able to step into that true role of actually who I am in owning business. So,
How, visionary to visionary here. How do you manage all the different things that you have in your head that you're like, oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
yeah. Paper and pen, just kind of
Okay.
like, I know that's not anything glorified, right? But just like brain dumping, if you will, in a way, right? And kind of getting it out first and then kind of going, okay, what can we do with this, right? Um, Maybe it's a later thing, maybe it's a now thing, maybe it kind of all connects, right? Where, even in my business, right, starting out as a TC company was solving a problem for TCs, right? But then realizing, okay, I like coaching. Okay, I can grow my team and help other TCs grow. Okay, awesome. There's a need in the community or a need with investors, right? They need connections to private money lenders. Okay, well, we have private money lenders on our team. We're all investors. Okay, awesome. We're constantly solving those problems. So I go visionary in that of, okay, one, how big can we make this? Or, what problems can we solve? But it really comes down to just like the pen and paper, drawing it out, and then figuring out how to systematize it, whether it's me, my VA, my team. I have team members that, have history in property management. I don't, right? So it's like, where can I delegate and
Mm,
what problems can we solve? Um,
yeah.
but pen and paper. I'm kind of
Yeah.
old school that way.
I love.
I've got like 4 notebooks on my desk.
Yeah, that's how I got the littlest ones. Just like write down scribbles. Sometimes I shouldn't say sometimes. Often I look
Yeah,
back and I'm like, what does that even say?
totally. Or
And
what does that mean?
yeah, Brittany will come in here like, are you just making symbols? Is
Yeah,
that like, no, yeah, I got it. And then I have my like journal that is a little bit more kind of thought out. I like kind of like that organized a little bit more. So it's like, it's visually pleasing to me. But
yeah.
yeah, I know I love the paper, the pen to paper. I've tried a lot of different things, but it always comes back to this freaking $12 fountain pen that I
Totally.
scratch on my paper. You you mentioned the reverse wholesaling.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for those who don't, that aren't as smart as Nathaniel, what is reverse wholesaling? And I think you mentioned that you're only doing it for people inside of Owners Club.
Yeah, and I'm gonna use that a little bit more looser too. But so
Okay.
reverse wholesaling, what we're doing is we are coming to someone like yourself and we're saying, "Hey, what's your buy box? What are you looking for, like to purchase, right?" And then what we're doing is we are pulling lists specific to that or as specific as we can get. And then we're calling on those leads because in our minds, right, we kind of already have a buyer. So if we find something that you're looking for or close to, right, one, can we negotiate it to how you're looking or what you're looking for? Or is your buy box a little bit more fluid? And so we're kind of doing the reverse where we're trying to find those buyers first versus acquiring a property, with a wholesale contract and then having to find a buyer. Because I would rather, and this is the TC side in me too, I would rather have a buyer or a potential buyer have more of a conversation and be able to call you up and go, "Hey, I have this. It's not quite a match. What do you think about this? Entries maybe a little higher. Do you want us to negotiate it down? How are you feeling?" Versus, "Oh, shoot, we have this deal. Where's our buyer coming from?" And so we're just kind of doing it a little bit more reverse, a little bit more intentional. Um, And yes, mostly focusing on Owners Club just because I am in Owners Club. And we know, right, that they've already done their buy boxes, but we are also doing it for people outside of Owners Club that we know are buyers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish that I had gotten introduced to reverse wholesaling years ago, because when I got started, it was, if you find a good deal, you'll be able to find a buyer. And that for me proved not always the
Totally.
case.
Right.
And maybe because they weren't all good deals, but you don't want you have the contract in hand and I have 7 days due diligence or whatever you
Mhm.
negotiated on. It's like, now I got to go find these buyers. I got to go to PropStream or whatever source you're
Yeah.
using to find buyers. And now my seller pipeline is starting to slow down because I'm out trying to source the buyers. And so by starting with the end in mind of, here's my buyers, maybe I have 3 in the city or whatever your kind of criteria is, and I know
Mhm.
that this is where they're buying, I
Yeah.
can get rid of all the other places that they're not interested in, and now I can
Totally.
really reach down. Yeah. Or when you're talking to potential buyers, do you have any criteria for what makes like, this is a buyer that I'll go look for deals for?
Um, Not really. So we have been told by other wholesalers, like, ask for a proof of funds, but I think that is a little odd, right? Real
Okay.
estate is such a relationship game, and so we're really just leaning in for the relationship piece of it,
Mm,
where, we're getting the buy box, and awesome, if we're gonna send you deals, hopefully you're gonna buy them. Obviously, we're gonna learn over time, like, if we send you 10 and you don't buy any of them, are you a serious buyer? But
yeah.
there's still so much that can come from that relationship that it's kind of the long game. Like, yes, the reverse wholesaling, the active income is kind of the short game, but at the end of the day, like, it is the relationship game, because who knows what's in 5 years or 2 years or whatever of what they might be needing or looking for, or what we need. Location matters, right? And so at the end of the day, we're just trying to make a lot of friends.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the build the relationship first. I think JJ was on 70 episodes or something. JJ Aziz, and he's all
Yeah.
about chase the relationship, not the deal. And you mentioned the 10, sending 10. I have a handful of them that have
Yeah.
sent me probably close to 10 at this point that we haven't bought. And I'm like, this is
Yeah.
why, that I'm trying to give you feedback and tell you why that we're not, and we're
Totally.
building a relationship. And they keep sending, hey, they keep reaching out. One of them
Yeah.
just reached out this morning. I'm not going to name names, Josh, but oh, whoops. No. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dang. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Uh,
sure.
as far as the Elite Hub goes, are you the owner of this, or is this a partnership? What does that look like?
Nope. I am the owner.
Okay.
Full owner. Some people call me the big boss. So yeah, I got started, well, obviously in real estate in 2017, but the Elite Hub really started in 2023. And
Okay.
it just kind of has grown from there. So, again, it kind of came from this need in the communities that we're a part of. And at that time, Top Tier didn't exist. And so immediately when I
Mm,
joined, I was like, oh, what do I do? And then Top Tier was already kind of in the works. And so it was really good to just kind of like follow that and then be alongside of that. Because I worked with Pace and Molly personally too, like learning TC. And so it just kind of coincided together. So it was, I learned everything that I've learned because of Molly. So
yeah.
yeah.
How many team members do you have at this point in the Elite
Yeah.
Hub?
So there's 10 of us right now.
Okay.
Yeah. The biggest that we've been is 15. And so right now 10, and 10 seems to be a really good number right now just for other stuff that we're launching and doing. It's not overly crazy. But I know we will grow this year. So
I love it. That's
yeah.
it. So, which kind of segues into a question, a like pre-planned question that I have is, we're August 6th currently. What does the year end goal look like for you guys?
Yeah. So really the wholesale side is the main focus because that will feed the TC side as well.
Okay.
And we want to do $1 million worth of wholesale fees by January.
And where are we at in that?
We're working on a lot of big deals right now, so they
Okay.
are taking a little bit longer. We're doing RV parks. A lot of people in Owners Club are buying RV and mobile home parks.
Yeah.
So I will say it's been a little bit of a slower start, but that's kind of entrepreneurship in it, right? I'm a firm believer anything we do today will show up in 90 days. And the
Mm.
wholesale side is really, really new, actually. It formed after doing, a No One Left Behind challenge. And it really launched July. And so we're
Okay.
like baby into it. I've talked about it for a year, going like, okay, big picture, this is where I want to go. So right now we've got some stuff that are almost under contract. We still have to, make sure we got the buyers, but I know we can make it happen.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So,
It's not an if, it's a when. And,
yeah.
I like the mentality of that whatever I'm doing today won't bear fruit until 90 days from now. Because so many people come into real estate and entrepreneurship, me included, having made the switch to the health and wellness coaching, like, well, I've been doing business for this long. It should be pretty easy. No, it's not. It's
It's
not that
all
easy
new.
because
Yeah.
yeah, it's all new. It's like you're starting from scratch. It's like so many people get started and they don't make it to that 90-day mark because they haven't seen success yet.
Yeah.
And you're shooting yourself in the foot because you've been building up habits and systems and processes and skills that are
Mhm.
going to bear fruit later. And so
Yeah.
I love that mentality is that like I'm not working for today. I'm working for 3,
Mhm.
6, 12 months from now.
Yeah.
So you
And
have
it's a
oh, go ahead.
daily reminder for sure.
Yeah.
I will
I
I
need it
will
on my
definitely
desktop.
say I still sometimes struggle with it where you're just like, why isn't this happening?
Yeah.
You
Why is
know,
it why
you're
are we
like,
not at $1 million yet?
yeah,
You
come
just
on.
started 6 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
for sure.
Yeah. So you have the kind of the almost end of year goal, kind
Mhm.
of working into January, but what's
Yeah.
12 months, 3 years, and I even want to say being an owners club, what's that Mount Everest?
Mhm. Amazing question. My Mount Everest is to empower 100 working moms to change their mindset to owner so that they can make $1
Mm.
million in real estate. I
Whoa.
will do that by plugging them into my ecosystem, right? And then, coaching and guiding them to do bigger and better things. So that's my Mount Everest. And then years down, the Elite Hub is really an ultimate avatar team. And so I do, we will have a fund, we will raise capital. And so slowly we will just keep growing and growing. So we are truly that one-stop shop for investors. We want to buy businesses and just have this big, massive kind of ecosphere, if you will. So then we
Yeah.
can plug people in and coach them and guide them along the way. I didn't start out, really thinking I was an entrepreneur. So that's just something that definitely was deep inside of me from, being a kid, painting rocks and selling them and making, business cards for Rock World, like it was always in me, but I didn't really think about it until
Mm.
older, being older and going, okay, wow, yeah, I can make some really cool stuff happen. So
Yeah. I've heard a lot of entrepreneur stories on this and the young getting started as an entrepreneur, but painting rocks is the first. So
yeah.
I love the first on networking with Nathaniel. 100 100 moms,
Hmm.
$1 million in real estate,
Hmm.
and is just so I have clarity on the goal, is that like $1 million annually, $1 million in a portfolio, or is that even not? Is that just kind of a foggy, not like
I would say really whatever they want, right? Because
okay,
obviously everyone's dream is different. If they want to make $1 million annually, okay, awesome. Might take, a little bit more work than maybe a portfolio, right? Because you can kind of skew those numbers. Anyone in real estate can, buy 2 properties and
yeah,
be a millionaire, right? And
yeah,
so really it kind of is going to depend on what they want. My biggest thing, especially having littles at home is a lot of people, I think, use their kids as an excuse. And this is going to be a pretty bold statement, but they use their kids as an excuse to not do bigger and better things. And so I want to kind of like get rid of that mindset and just go, no, like you got this, you can do it. Is it chaotic and messy some days? Yes, but you're showing up every day. And at the end of the day, you're kind of a bad A. So just keep going and build the life that you want to build. So
That's even asked immediately after I asked that question, I'm thinking, it's less, it's for me at least, and it sounds like for you, it's a little bit less about the $1 million than it is about the mindset shift and becoming an
yeah.
entrepreneur and taking charge of your life. And that's so much of what I talk about inside of Fit Fatherhood is becoming that new identity.
Yeah.
Right. For us, it's becoming the healthy, the nutritious, the leader of your family. But for what you're working on in the Mount Everest, like switching from that almost victim mindset into a place of women empowerment.
Totally.
Speaking of women, is Elite Hub all ladies?
We are all ladies.
Yeah. I thought so. I saw like 6 pink jackets or whatever. I forget what you guys were wearing at Squad Up, and it was all women.
Yeah, all ladies. We don't discriminate, but we just haven't found anyone that can really vibe with us yet. So we're just all ladies.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's okay to discriminate too. Like, this is our vibe. This is our culture, right? Like, I'm not
We've
working
interviewed
with
a couple
them,
guys and we're like, how do you feel about wearing a pink shirt? And they're like, I'm like, okay, well, that's kind of a kicker when we go to Squad Up. So
yeah, but this is our brand. In 16 years, when Huxley, our almost 3-year-old, so like 15 years, is old enough, he'll come join. He loves freaking pink. So he's in. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. My son, he has his team shirt. He goes, where's my team shirt? I need to wear my team shirt. So it's perfect. It's the next generation. So I love it.
Yeah. I love that. I have so in an effort to kind of appeal to the health and wellness, the fitness, the mindset side of things in me, I'm literally, you are the guinea pig of this.
Perfect.
So I appreciate you. I want to spend the second kind of half of this talking about what you're doing to be a present mother, a present wife, while juggling the business. Is there anything, though, before we make this pivot that we maybe didn't touch on that you wanted to highlight about the Elite Hub, about what you're working
on? The only thing I'd really say is if you need help, we can help you.
Okay. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Pretty simple.
I guess I do have one last question, and it is, I want this to be specific about entrepreneurship. Is what is the biggest lesson you've learned so far as an entrepreneur, and how did you learn it? What's the story behind it?
I think, I would say the biggest lesson is probably patience. And the fact of, especially I think in today's society, we do want it like yesterday, right? And so it is the patience of, because, our entrepreneurial, journey did start, almost 10 years ago. So you're kind of like, okay, like, what are we doing wrong? Maybe, is it us? Like, but knowing that, right? I mean, I'm going to totally butcher this, but you're not really an expert in anything until like 10,000 hours, quote unquote, right? 10,000 hours, roughly 10 years. And so like really at the end of it, like we're kind of just getting started. And so I think through the whole journey of just knowing, okay, we're on the right path, we're doing the things, right? And it will come to fruition, and just having patience with that. Now, granted, daily battle, right? Like I said earlier, some days you're like, why is this not happening? Or there's frustration, but really just leaning into the timeline of it and knowing that, so cliche, but really it's the journey, right? Not the destination. Although the destination would be pretty nice right about now, but you're just kind of like, okay, like we're doing the things, we're getting better every day, the consistency of it. So I would say, and I'm not a patient person, but learning patience and just trusting the process of the journey.
Yeah. I think I've said it probably 50 episodes here that these things that we hear sound cliche until you're living them.
Totally.
It's not the destination, it's the journey. But I'm reminded of all the people that win the lottery, and I don't know what the number is, but like whatever, 70% of them end up broke after 2 or 3 years because
Mhm.
they didn't build the habits and the understanding and the knowledge and the wisdom around having that kind of money.
Mhm.
I can't just give you abs. You're just going to lose them again because your habit is I eat ice cream at 9 o'clock at night, right?
Totally.
So it it is about the journey. It's about becoming that person that is the leader of freaking 10 amazing women who love to wear pink,
Yeah.
right? I couldn't
Totally.
if I just handed you 10 women, you wouldn't know how to lead them. You had to grow into that.
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
I love that. With with regards to your day, how do you go about setting the tone for your day? Do you have a specific morning routine that works for
Mhm.
you?
Yeah. So, I'll be fully transparent. It's a little out of whack right now with all the construction,
Yeah.
but usually we get up and go for a walk like before the kids wake up.
Oh,
We have
cool.
a really like safe neighborhood, and so we
Yeah.
just walk around the block, for 45 minutes. But getting up, and I did not grow up a morning person, but getting up and setting the day before the kids wake up has been a game changer. Um, Even, not sleeping great and all that kind of stuff, like just knowing like you got to get up and start your day that way. Um, and then I've really leaned into time blocking. And so really like I'm up at 5 o'clock my time, but I don't get on with the team until 8:30. And so it's very intentional time in the morning, one for myself, but then also, just being with, the kids before the day starts, school starts. And then I also try and sit in front of the red light at least 2 or 3 times a week in
Okay.
the morning.
Yeah. Is your okay, I have a couple follow-on questions here.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with the red light because that was the last thing, top of fresh. Or no, actually, we'll go back to the red light. When
Okay.
you're walking around the neighborhood, you said we. Is that you and your husband are doing
Yeah.
that?
So, yeah,
With it?
we do it together. It's kind of our
Yeah,
time together.
yeah. I love that.
Again, it's a little weird right now just with everything, but
Yeah.
that is normally what we do. We usually do 75 hard at least once a year, and so that
Okay.
habit has just kinda stuck. Obviously,
Yeah,
some of the other habits need to stick a little bit more, but we're working on it, every
yeah,
day, new day. So,
yeah,
but we try and do the walking. We're also in Arizona, so it's, like, bloody hot right now, and so when you wake up and you're, like, walking in 100 degrees, you're just like,
yeah,
"This is not really fun right now."
yeah. Do you have you mentioned that you walk around the block and it's a safe neighborhood, but do you have a Bluetooth monitor or something that
Oh,
you're
totally.
watching?
Yeah, we have the Bluetooth monitor, the
Okay.
dog is here, we lock the
I love
door,
that.
and so I
Yeah.
know it's not everyone's like, "What do you do?" No, it's totally fine, like, our block takes, like, 3 minutes, so it's like
Okay. You're
yeah,
pretty within
we
reach.
can
Yeah.
basically see the house the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. With the red light, what inspired you to do the red light? Is there anything do you have any specific goals with the red light? Is it we have one that Brittany's been using, but it's just like a small little handheld one. Do you have
Mhm.
like a
I have, okay, so Whitney actually got me onto the red light. Shout out to Whitney
Okay.
again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have the handheld. I have a little bit bigger one. It's more like tabletop size, but if you sit
Okay.
far enough away, which you're supposed to obviously be closer, but it can be full body. Um, and not really any goals with it. It just kinda relaxes me. I know that there's, from learning from Whitney, because she's really into health and wellness, of just, like, there are so many benefits, and I just was like, "I really want one. I wanna kinda see it for myself." And so I'll just kinda sit in front of it. My son has sat in front of it, I'm like, "It'll help heal your boo-boos," and he's like, "Oh my gosh, it's gone," and I'm like, "Not really, but sure,
Yeah.
okay, like, cool."
That's funny.
So, but for me, it's mostly like just kind of a relaxing time.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. How long have you been using it now?
I would say I've probably had it a month and a half, maybe
Okay.
2
Fair enough.
months.
Yeah.
And then building up. So I think the most or the longest I've sat in front of it is 20 minutes. Not
Okay.
gonna lie, the visionary in me kind of gets bored. So I try and like multitask a little bit.
Yeah.
So I know
Yeah.
some
Brittany
people have
likes to
them
do
like
it like she does it on her feet sometimes and like while we're watching something or while we're talking like
mhm.
man, the red, and then you turn it off and you're like, oh,
You're
everything's
like,
green.
"Oh,
Yeah.
yeah."
Yeah.
You're like, "Where are
No,
we?" Yeah,
I think it's, I
totally.
mean, it maybe is a little, there's a lot of research into the benefits of it, but, and maybe it's a little bit placebo-ish, but it seems
Mhm.
like it's doing well for her. So,
Yeah. Well, and I
yeah.
know a lot of people use it in conjunction with a sauna. We obviously
Mm,
don't have a sauna, and
yeah.
I have seen, like you said, there's a lot of research behind it, but maybe a little bit placebo. There's someone that I used to go to church with actually, and her daughter used it when she had cancer, and now she's cancer free. They did a lot of different health changes, but I was like, okay, that like the research behind that kind of makes sense. Now, obviously, there's a lot of factors into it, but for me, I'm like, I just enjoy it, and hopefully it's helping me a little bit too.
Yeah, I think if it's therapeutic to you,
Yeah.
that alone is worth the time
Mhm.
to sit down in front of it. Going backwards a little bit, Fail Giggle asks, "Is anyone working with hedge fund buyers?" I'm not sure if you mean anyone between the two of us or anyone in owners club, but do you know any hedge fund buyers? I guess. Yeah.
Um, there has been some emails that we've gotten that we do have people connected with hedge funds. So
Okay.
that would I would definitely need some more information and
Yeah.
kind of like, okay, between us, are you looking for a hedge fund buyer? Do you have a lot of properties that you're thinking might work for hedge funds? So I will need more information. Obviously, they can reach out to me. But yeah, that's a great question, but I need more context.
Yeah, I would say reach out at Alyssa_Rich1 and have a little conversation. Is that the best place to reach out to you?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I I've given my phone number out a few times. I'm no longer doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, the social media is probably the best place,
Totally.
to connect. What you mentioned that normally you guys are doing the 45-minute, walk in the mornings.
Mhm,
You're not currently doing it because of the chaos in the house. Have
mhm.
you noticed any differences to your days because of that? Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the pain of getting up and doing it versus the outweigh. No, 100%. We both, um, know. I mean, it just helps. It sets your day. Um, I do get a lot of ideas too when walking. So, like, when we do 75 hard and I walk by myself, that's like, "Ooh,
Mm.
kahuna, where's my notebook?" Like, when I'm walking.
Yeah.
But no, 100% can definitely tell a difference. Um, full transparency, just like the chaos and a little bit of the heat, and we're just kinda like, "Eh," like, right
Yeah.
now with it. Um, but we know, like, we're like, "Okay, we need to get back into this." For me, I think the biggest thing is too, like, you're waking up, you're sweating, which I know is good for you. There's a little bit of a mindset shift that needs to happen with that, where, like, right now with the remodels and all that kind of stuff, we're traveling a lot. I'm just like, it's another thing, which is so silly. But
Mm.
that's where I'm like, "Okay, my walking pad will maybe work. It's not as fun, babe, but you can walk next to me and I'm on the walking pad."
Yeah. There's an element you're getting out as well. You're getting sunlight, most likely, right? Unless you're getting up at like 4 in the morning. But so your circadian rhythm is benefiting from that,
Mhm.
from the sunlight kind of first thing in the morning. So it's
Yeah.
all we this is Araf. We're in email contacts working on a property 15. I think he's talking about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now I know.
There
Okay,
you
yeah, no, we're
go.
working on that deal. That's awesome. Hedge fund buyers, yeah, we'll email on that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like even kinda now, but it doesn't seem like your health is taking a completely, like, a back seat, but is there any time, let's say in your period as an entrepreneur where your health kinda took a back seat,
Mhm.
what caused that and what brought it back to
Yeah,
the forefront?
the worst time for it to actually take a back seat, I'm not gonna lie, but, like, postpartum,
Mm,
um, especially the second time around, with our second, you're kind of I mean, you understand as a dad, right? The mom, you're just kind of like in this twilight zone of like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And our daughter, she was born like in the thick of just even like launching the company,
Mhm.
the Elite Hub. So
Yeah.
hiring and all that kind of stuff where you're just like, I'm just gonna go and I'm just gonna grind and it's fine, like you're sleep deprived, you're kind of taking care of yourself, like you're trying to make sure that there's calories. But I think for me, that has been more of the hardest time, just being in that survival mode anyway, where you're just like, let me just like eat. At
Yeah.
least I'm eating, right?
Yeah.
But then I think in still postpartum, there's a point where you're like, okay, enough is enough. The baby is sleeping. I'm still like lagging and dragging, right? And now we need to start making that shift. With our son, like I said earlier, we do 75 hard once a year. And so with our son, I waited a lot longer to do that versus, Kenzie, our daughter. I was like, okay, cool. I'm fine. Let me just do this. Cause then for us, it really just jump starts. We do it at the beginning of every year and we just
Mm.
jumpstart the year in that.
Yeah.
And so that has always been like the hardest part for me. It's just that postpartum, like after a baby.
Yeah. So there was a realization there where you said, I'm not everything's clicking on all cylinders, so to speak. I got to
Mhm.
get back into it. Hmm.
Yeah.
I
'Cause
just
you like
realized that Brittany was talking about the red light here.
yeah. Yeah, for forced relaxation. Oh, totally. I'll paint my
Yeah.
toenails and it's like my time, right? But yeah, like there's a point, right? Because when you have a baby, right? It's about motherhood and fatherhood. Like there's a point of sleep deprivation, but then they start sleeping.
Right.
And then like for me, I was like, but I'm still lagging. Like I'm maybe not sleeping now because I'm like, they're sleeping, but why am I not sleeping? And so really kind of being in tune and like the self-awareness of even just what's happening in your body. I can kind of tell when I start getting off a little bit and I go, okay, let me assess, what habits maybe are lacking right now because nobody's perfect, right? We got to kind of combat it every day. Okay, am I taking my vitamins? Okay, am I eating right? Am I, doing all the things? Am I taking care of myself and, putting kind of myself first in a way, right? If my tank is full and I'm taking that time to myself, I can show up, in business as a wife and a mom better. Okay, well, if I'm not doing that, then I'm not going to show up.
Yeah.
Am I drinking enough water? As silly as it is, right? But, you got to be hydrated. And so there's all of those things that compound. And just having that self-awareness to go, okay, where am I slacking right now? Because I'm not making it a priority. And then how is it affecting me?
I,
I'm not perfect.
no, and you mentioned a couple things there is like there's seasons. We all have seasons, and
Mhm.
you had with your second a couple of seasons kind of colliding on each other
Mhm.
with the starting the business, the new baby, the chaos of all of that. You still have your what would he have been 3.5, 4 at the time, right?
Yeah.
And so he's coming into his own as a little human too, like, hey, I need mom, I need some attention, right?
Yeah.
And,
Being an only
and
child for so long. And yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's like all these changes are happening around you. So being able to give yourself some grace, but then also having the understanding that I'm not
Mhm.
myself right now. I'm not 100%. What are
Yeah.
the things that I'm lacking? What are the things that I'm missing?
Mhm.
You and I forget how you put it, but I think of I like the analogy, and this is one that I talk about inside Fit Fatherhood, is we're all walking around with cups. And your perspective on this is amazing. A lot of us, especially from the dad side, is like, we can't put ourselves first. We have to put everybody else above ourselves
Mhm.
because they need us, they rely on us. But if we're not taking the time to fill up our cup,
Mhm.
however you do so,
Mhm.
then when your kids come around, your spouse come around, the other 10 employees that you have come around with their cups and you go to pour out, there's nothing. It's just dust coming out. And
Totally.
now their cups are empty and they're needing stuff. So what are you doing? You've already mentioned a couple things and maybe that's it. The
Mhm.
red light and the walking and the deriding. Are those the things that you're doing to fill up your cup, or is there some things that we haven't talked about yet?
I think another thing that I've kind of started doing, also formed out of postpartum, and I really enjoy it, is I make sourdough.
You and
And so
Brittany need to
that
talk
is,
to me.
yeah, so that is kind of a fun thing that I do. It doesn't take me long, but it's one of those things where it's just, a few minutes here feeding the starter and then, prepping the bread. Now sometimes, the kids are, wanting me to hold them or whatever, so it's not necessarily me having alone time, but it's something that I really enjoy, that I just
Yeah.
do. And it's, 3 ingredients. I know what's in it. It's better for you.
Yeah.
So that would
Are
be the other
you
thing that I do.
is it just like sourdough bread you're making, or are you making the gamut of things like Brittany does?
It kind of depends on the season that we're in. We've done cookies, we do pizza dough, but for the most part, it is bread. We've done
Yeah.
like a, coffee cake. You kind of like go down the rabbit hole of like, okay,
Yeah, what
it's
can I do?
sourdough, but it's not actually not that healthy for you. So you're like, okay, we got to like step it back. Like, let's just focus on the bread. I made bagels the other day, so that was a fun new recipe I tried.
Mm, yeah.
But for the most part, it's just bread. And people like in Bible study or our neighbors, like they all love it. And so I make 2 loaves, we keep one, we give one away, and just, it's kind of just this fun thing I do. I got these like cute little bags from Amazon with stickers, like
Yeah.
someone's like, you should start a bakery. I'm like, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, it's not. Brittany mentioned that at one point. I forget. It wasn't. Oh, it was around focaccia. She's been making sourdough focaccia, and
Mm,
it's amazing. Like
yeah.
it's good. It's therapeutic for you. You get a lot of value out of it. But to start a business around baking focaccia that you're going to sell for what, $8 or something
Yeah.
like that. It's like
You're like, then I'll hate it. So no, I have to continue to love
yeah,
it. Yeah.
exactly. Then I'll hate it. Yeah, she got. I mean, so many things she makes. I really love that. Yeah, the tortillas. See, she
Oh
read my
yeah,
lips.
tortillas. Hmm.
Ah, they're so good. And
And they take
she
30
made it.
minutes. Like, come on, people.
Yeah, she made a goal. I think it was at the beginning of this year to not buy any bread, any more like bread products. She's gonna
Yeah.
make everything. I think we've bought a couple of the bread products, but pretty much, I mean, from tortillas to the loaves of bread, focaccia, buns, pancakes, like all the things.
Yeah,
She makes it all now, and it's almost every single time better than what you would go buy taste wise, let
totally.
alone health wise. Yeah, okay, I'll get off that kick. So food is sounds like it's pretty important to you. Do you ever notice a connection by days that you maybe don't stick to whatever your nutrition
Mhm.
plan is, and dips in energy, dips in physical, mental, emotional?
Totally. 100%. And then also, and I know this, if the food dyes, um, have noticed a drastic change with cutting out food dyes. Again, we're not perfect. There's food dyes and like so many things that I didn't even realize, right? Um, but now our son is kind of on that kick too. He's like, Mom, this has food dye in it. And I'm like, yeah, we need to just then get rid of it.
Oh,
My niece is really sensitive to food dyes too, and he was up with them this summer, and so he had this like spotlight of, we're like, okay, yes, you can have that, you're a kid, like just have fun, we'll deal with it later, right? There's got to be a little bit of a balance, but we're getting more towards the side of not having balance, right? Where we're like, oh my gosh, like, yeah,
yeah,
we were right, this is crazy.
yeah,
So food dyes, but yeah, the food, I think, the biggest thing too is it's kind of a mental game too, because you go for what is easy, but then what makes you feel better. And so, I mean, this is a conversation we have all the time, right? And so it's that internal battle of having to win. I also, like, I'm an emotional eater, and so that has been a big realization for me in the past like 3 years, especially starting a
mhm,
business. And so it's like, okay, like, what is triggering me to want to eat? I'm not even hungry. Maybe you shouldn't eat. And so it really does come down to just like the mindset and the discipline behind it. And I think, the community that you're creating and having that accountability where you can come and be like, hey, I'm struggling. I need, some more support in this, right? Can I, text you every time I want to eat if I'm not hungry, or, whatever. And so
yeah.
I think it does just come down to, like battle buddies, and it's really all mindset and self-awareness.
Mm. What do you notice with the food dyes being gone?
Um, I'm my husband might disagree. Crabby. I like
Mhm.
so this past weekend actually like not even really realizing it, but we did have food dye and like I was like I'm crabby and my son was crabby and we were kind of like we're a lot alike. So then we like were battling and I was like, what happened? And I go, oh my gosh, that had food dye in it. And
Mm.
so, having the conversation one with him, just like on the side, like, hey, like we both ate food dye. We didn't mean, we were crabby with each other. We're going to be better tomorrow. Like the 6-year-old conversations of not going down the rabbit hole. Right.
Yeah.
But, and then sleep, that has been a big, changer or big change that I've seen too, is just like the sleep. Um, and then the energy. So
Yeah, no tips. Yeah, the
no
not
2 o'clock lull.
yeah, I call the 3 p.m. Yeah, the 3 p.m. dip, but yeah, the 2 p.m. depending on when you wake up,
Mhm.
especially when you're the food dyes and the early sugar, like just
Mhm.
the cereals with the sugar and the donuts and the coffees and where you're just putting sugar into it. Like, no wonder
Mhm.
we're crashing at 2 p.m. because you just spiked your insulin way up
Totally.
and now it's coming down.
Mhm.
No wonder. But that's where we're at as a society right now. And I'm glad to be on kind of the forefront of making changes, at least on the individual level, and that you're doing that as well with your family, because it's so important for us. Like you mentioned, kind of the seeds that we're planting today in our businesses don't bear fruit for 90 days. Well, the seeds that we're planting from a health and wellness standpoint right now in our families are going
Mhm.
to trickle down, not just from our kids and their kids, and it just goes down the line.
Totally.
And so I love that we're aligned in that regard. How how do you balance taking off the entrepreneur hat and putting on the mom and wife hat and being present in
Mhm.
that?
Well, I try to be better every day. Not every day is perfect, but I really have honed in on my calendar.
Mm,
I try and be done with work ish, right? By the time my son gets home from school, so I can
okay.
be more present that way.
Yep.
Um, Obviously, there are sometimes emergencies, all that kind of stuff. I still answer texts, but I really try and not have any meetings um, when he's home. And so that kind of guides my day a little bit. Again, every day is a different day, but I really try and live by my calendar in that sense and just cram everything when he's at school. Um, I'm not perfect at just putting my phone down, right? That is something that I'm working on, just like putting my phone down. It doesn't matter forgetting about it. Um, we have a pool, and so we try and have intentional time, like playing outside, and when it's not a bazillion degrees outside.
Yeah.
Um, but really, just the big word self-awareness, and just like, okay, what's happening? What can we do together? Sometimes like I'll have my son like, okay, I got to do some emails. You want to do some emails? And he'll email my mom, like kind of like incorporating them in a little bit of it too.
Yeah.
He helped my husband do some demo on the bathroom, right? So one, incorporating them in what we're doing, but then also kind of having more of a hard stop. And that's where, the weekends, especially if I don't have an owners club meeting, it's like, okay, what are we doing as family? Are we baking banana bread? Are we doing this? Are we, even if we're cleaning, it's, kind of all just like family oriented versus work.
Mm. You
Just
with the
time
banana
blocking.
bread, like she just finished making muffins. Banana muffins, yeah, banana muffins. Oh,
Instant best friends.
yeah, that's it. Yeah. Did we just become best friends? I love people. So many people look at a calendar like mine that is very rigidly time blocked and think that it's restrictive. But for me, it's freeing because
Mhm.
I look at it and I go, I got time with the kids, I got time with the wife, I got time by myself, I got plenty of time for the business.
Totally.
And it allows me to, it's on silent right now, but put this thing down
Mhm.
and go outside with the kids.
Totally.
and not care about that because I know that when I come back, there's time allocated for that, or I already took care of the things that need to be taken care of. Like, just
Mhm.
like you mentioned, though, there's times where something happens, there's a problem going on with the property or whatever, and the contractor is going to need us at 6 o'clock, and so I have to
Yep.
pause dinner because that's what works for them. But for the most part,
Mhm.
those things are taken care of outside of family time. So I,
Mhm.
I really love that. As far as like what we've talked about so far, all the little health and wellness habits that you've talked about, or maybe something that we haven't talked about, is there, if you had to pick one that was going to just stick with your kids and that they were going to take with them into adulthood and maybe pass down to their kids, what would be the one, if you could choose one
Yeah, I
habit?
think I think a lot of it would be probably around food. And
Mm,
so it really is, my husband and I are really trying to change the habits that we saw growing up, right? And the
yeah.
buck stops with us and retraining ourselves, which is also hard, when it's a lot easier to change it when you're 6 than when you're 33, because you
Yeah.
have a lot more years that you need to change. But I think for me, it would be the healthy habits around food, just because one, we didn't have that growing, not that we had horrible, but it's like, being a latchkey kid or whatever, you just go home and nobody's watching. So you're eating this and so it's just those kinds of things. I think that would be the biggest thing, is just healthy habits and a healthy relationship with food.
Mm, I love it. It's
Yeah.
so it's kind of the biggest needle mover as far as our health goes, from a physical, an emotional, a
Mhm.
mental standpoint. Is like the food that you put in your body, it's fueling you
Mhm.
one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you have any book recommendations from a business standpoint, from a motherhood parent standpoint, wife standpoint, or just a life standpoint that you would, I said standpoint a lot
It's
right
it's
there.
all good.
Yeah. that you would
I
recommend?
think 3, I probably have like a top 3 in no
Okay.
particular order, but it
Yeah.
would be The Go Giver,
Mm,
How to Win Friends and Influence People, and then The Compound Effect, and I'm gonna put slash The Slight Edge, because they're both very similar.
okay. I haven't heard of the slight edge.
Very similar to The Compound Effect.
Okay. I don't know if I've read the compound effect. I have to. I don't have to.
You probably have.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
What well, we already mentioned the best place to reach out to you. That's on Instagram? Is that your preferred platform?
Instagram is definitely preferred platform. Do not
Okay.
reach out to me on Facebook Messenger. I
No
won't see it.
wonder. No.
Yeah. I know some people are like, "Hello," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, just email me or just reach out here." So yeah,
Yeah.
Instagram is totally fine. We can drop my email in the show notes too. That
Okay.
works too.
Yeah, I love. Let's do that. Okay. If I got two last questions we can sneak in here.
Perfect.
If you could have dinner with anybody throughout history, living, dead, who would it be and what would you want to talk about?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. I think, oh, but also a big stumper.
Yeah, I
I
should have
have a I
prefaced
have
it
a
ahead of
few
time.
that, like, the first, like, gut reaction, this is gonna be a little controversial. I would love to meet with the President Trump right now,
Okay.
and just understand business,
Mm,
and kind of like what he, did with, the Trump Towers and all that stuff. Like, I used to
okay.
watch Apprentice, but then I think another thing, I'd really wanna sit down with Jesus.
That's the one I've been sitting with lately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, 2 totally different realms, but
Very, yeah. I like that. Yeah, and controversial whether you like him or not, he's had a lot of success, and so he has a
Mhm.
lot of experience, and he's 80 years worth of well, however old he is,
Yeah.
worth of experience. But that seems like maybe the wisest man who's ever walked the earth is probably a pretty good one to sit down to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
also yes.
Yeah.
I
All
I
right.
I also have some silly questions for him too, like, "Why did you create spiders?" Like, like,
Yeah.
"Why do bees have to sting?" Like, those kinds of things too, but also, yeah.
That's funny. That I would not thought. Yeah. Caterpillars. Why? Go.
What? Yeah,
Yeah.
like purpose. Yeah, like
Yeah.
scorpions. What?
Yeah, what the heck? When your time on this earth is done, Alyssa, it sounds like hopefully, God willing, you go to heaven, you're with him.
Mhm.
What do you want to be remembered for by the people that you left behind?
I think love and grit. Just that
Mm,
she loved well and she had a lot of grit and did what, she wanted to do.
yeah, love it.
Yeah.
Any parting words for the Networking with Nathaniel guests live and in the future?
Just go after it.
That is
Yeah.
a theme on this show. Go after it. Take action.
Mhm.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on here, taking time out of your day. I'm going to boot you off. If you would hang around so the show could upload
Perfect. Thanks
the
for
way
having me.
thank you for coming on. Appreciate you. Alyssa Richie with Elite Hub. That is a group to keep your eye on and to connect with, whether you are a buyer, you are looking for transaction coordinators, or you just want to be in the company of amazing individuals. Follow her on Instagram. You have her Instagram handle there. Go take action. Do it imperfectly. Take care of your health. As you heard her say, the times that she's at her best, she's focused on getting out and getting movement and making sure that she is eating great, nutritious, whole foods. That is a, a staple of all the high level entrepreneurs that I know at this point, is that their health bleeds into their wealth. I appreciate you for being here live and in the future. If you're not already subscribed, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done so, ding, click the like button so we can reach more people and continue to grow this audience, because as we grow, we want to lift people up with us and we all want to grow together. So appreciate you for being here. We will see you next week at noon Eastern Time, Wednesday.